Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Toast, where I give you all the latest gaming news, and history was made today within the gaming space. Fans may know Xbox and PlayStation as bitter rivals, and in many ways they are, but something we've been seeing in recent years are how those exclusive barriers are being broken down. We've seen Xbox put their games on PC, mobile devices, or even a select few that has made their way over to the Nintendo Switch. PlayStation, meanwhile, has put a few games on PC, and now it is 100% confirmed that they are releasing a game on an Xbox console. This is pretty cool to see, so we're going to talk about that today. Also, Nintendo continues to absolutely knock it out of the park. The Nintendo Switch truly is insane, and it's almost unbelievable what they're pulling off. It's interesting though, because the Switch very well could have been Nintendo's savior, and we're going to go over all of that as well. It's been a busy day for the gaming world though, so let's get right into it, starting off with Cris. So Cris is one of the more appealing independent games coming this year. It's got a gorgeous art style to it, the story sounds really interesting, and it's kind of reminiscent of old school turn-based JRPGs. Cris has been a highly anticipated independent game, and fans were upset last year when it ultimately got delayed. As we all know, delays are pretty much inevitable across the game industry by this point, for reasons I'm sure we're all aware of. Well, for those looking forward to this promising title though, I got some good news. They did reveal a launch window today in a new trailer. It's now set to release on the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox devices, and on the PC this July. There's no specific release date as of this moment, but they now have it narrowed down to a specific month, which is great news. I really want to play this game myself. If you haven't seen this game yet, you can go check out the newest trailer, which will give you a tease on what the story is about. There are some time travel elements to it, and I believe it is inspired by old school games like Chrono Trigger. You can also see some similarities with Final Fantasy VI and how the combat works. I know that certainly has me excited because I like games like that, but if you're not sold on it, you can play a demo of Cris right now. Yeah, you can test this game out and figure out if it's worth a buy. And about that actually, as a bonus, it was previously confirmed that Cris will be available in Xbox Game Pass Day 1. Yeah, this is yet another really good looking game for Xbox Game Pass that will be releasing later this year in July. Now, speaking of Xbox Game Pass, there were a lot of really good games that launched into Xbox Game Pass just last week. Of course, you had the Yakuza Collection and Cyber Shadow, but also the Xbox Series console exclusive, The Medium. Now, there's always that debate, can games make money by launching their games on Xbox Game Pass? We have seen some success stories in the past, and you can now add The Medium to that list. Bloober Team has officially confirmed that The Medium recouped development costs after just 1 day on the market. That is fantastic news, and I really like hearing this for a few different reasons. Yes, it is a good sign for Day 1 launch titles for Xbox Game Pass, and I like that, but also this is a really good game that I think is far better than the review scores suggest. I played it a lot this weekend, and I think The Medium is hauntingly beautiful. It is a slower paced game and has a lot of similarities to a walking simulator, but with a horror type setting. Combat isn't really the main focus of this game, but if you like slower paced games such as Firewatch or Death Stranding, it's a really good game at what it tries to do. It's not Resident Evil in the sense that it's not an action-packed game, but instead it focuses on puzzles more. It's the story and atmosphere though that really makes The Medium special. I do highly encourage you to play The Medium yourself if you like these type of games, or you just want a good story. I think it's far better than its overall score makes it out to be, and as I said last week, I think this game will have a large fan following. It really doesn't surprise me anymore when I disagree with an overall Metacritic score of a game, but I do highly encourage you to check out The Medium yourself. The story in this game really did grab me, and it's just done so exceptionally well, so definitely check out The Medium. Moving on though, this was both surprising and unsurprising at the same time. Google has officially shut down their Stadia internal studios and are changing business focus. Now what this means is that they are no longer supporting their own first-party studios. Stadia will remain for the time being, but Google will no longer have their own studios working on exclusive games. They did have 2 internal studios, one led by Jade Raymond, which is known for her work on the Assassin's Creed franchise, and then you also have Typhoon Studios, which they acquired in just 2020. This is actually infuriating. This is one of the reasons that I keep pointing out that Microsoft has been keeping Google at bay by making acquisitions. If you didn't know this before, there were some rumors back in late 2019 that Xbox was targeting Typhoon Studios as a studio acquisition before the release of Journey to the Savage Planet, but ultimately, Google ended up acquiring them instead. Now here we are roughly 1 year later, and Google is already calling it quits on Typhoon Studios and Jade Raymond's internal teams. That is just absolutely ridiculous, and this isn't an ongoing problem with Google. They put money into these ambitious projects and they just give up on them prematurely if they're not instantaneously successful. From the very get-go, it was clear that Google did not understand how to navigate the game space, especially when it comes to hardcore gamers. There were no exclusives or really anything all that promising for gamers to invest into Stadia over other services and devices. They were pretty much banking on cloud gaming alone, and that just was not a good plan. So you have Microsoft that also is heavily investing in cloud gaming, but they understand that their core audience is still on consoles. They know it's going to take years to get a big fan base on cloud gaming, so you can't really just rely on that alone, and even if you are, you have to have games to release on it in order for people to support it. It's as if Google didn't really understand that, and they didn't understand that AAA games takes years to make. It's a big investment both in terms of time as well as money. It's just so unfortunate for the people that are being affected by this quote-unquote change of business. After just 1 year, you're giving up on a studio that you just recently acquired, likely by outbidding another publisher that would have treated them much better. Now, I don't necessarily know exactly what will happen with these internal studios, and I don't know if they're just going to be completely shut down or not. I really hope that's not the case. Once I find out more, I will let you know, or if you know, let me know in the comments below. If they are being let go though, I really hope another publisher can pick up the entire studio, because Journey to the Savage Planet was actually pretty good and, in my opinion, a bit underrated. As for Jade Raymond's team, I hope they can find new jobs elsewhere quick. There's a lot of talent within that studio, and I hope it all goes well. As for Stadia, it still does remain, but I think by this point, they've lost a lot of trust from hardcore gamers, and it's going to be an uphill battle for Google from this point forward. Let's talk about something good though, because PlayStation and Xbox made history today. It has officially been confirmed that MLB The Show 21 is coming to PlayStation and Xbox. Now, if you don't know why this is such a big deal, that's because MLB The Show is actually developed by a first-party PlayStation studio. Yes, Sony San Diego is the developer behind MLB The Show, so this is huge. Now, we have known about this for quite some time. It was back in late 2019 when it was revealed that Sony and MLB reached a new multi-year extension on the MLB license, and that they would make multi-platform games going forward. Both Xbox and Nintendo responded to this tweet, so it's been public knowledge for a while that this would likely happen, but it has now officially been confirmed, and it gets even better. So check this out. MLB The Show 21 will release on April 20th for the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series, and it's also cross-platform. Yeah, not only did Sony develop an Xbox game, but it's allowing cross-platform for everybody to play together. I have to really applaud PlayStation for this move. This is just awesome for gamers as a whole. In my opinion, MLB should have never been exclusive to one platform in the first place, and I know MLB likely forced their hand on making it multi-platform when signing a new extension for the license, but I love that PlayStation took this important release and decided to go all in by breaking down the barrier and just letting everybody play together. I love everything about this announcement, and the thing is, it might get even better in the near future. Nintendo did originally respond to the multi-year extension, so Sony San Diego may still end up porting MLB The Show 21 to the Nintendo Switch as well. That would be pretty awesome. I mean, for collectors, you might want to just pick up the physical retail box of this game so you can have a game with both the Xbox and PlayStation logo next to one another on your own game collection. Or, if it comes to the Switch, you can do the same thing with that. Let me know what you think about this reveal in the comments below. And speaking of the Switch, wow, that thing is absolutely insane. They posted their financial report for Q3 today, and yeah, they exceeded all expectations. The Nintendo Switch has now sold 79.87 million units, and they've raised their forecast of 19 million units on the year up to 24 million. That is extremely impressive, but There are some wild numbers revealed alongside this announcement, so let's take a look at some of these numbers. To start off, like I said, the Switch has sold 79.87 million units, which means that it has sold more than the 3DS in just 4 years. The 3DS, which launched back in 2011, went on to sell 75.94 million. The Switch Lite alone has almost outsold the Wii U, and really that just kind of goes to show you how successful they've been since the Switch has released. It's definitely outperformed all of their previous hardware released within the last decade, and this is incredibly important, and I'll explain why. Over the weekend, former Nintendo president of North America, Reggie Fils-Aimé, let it be known that the Switch was a make-it-or-break-it console for Nintendo. That's a scary thought, but if the Switch wasn't successful, it could have been detrimental to Nintendo based off this comment. The 3DS did okay, it wasn't great, but the Wii U wasn't an abysmal failure and put Nintendo in a tight spot. Thanks to the genius design of the Switch, though, and a strong library of games, they quickly turned things around, and the Switch is now on pace to be one of the most successful consoles ever made. That's quite a turnaround, and I believe the Switch will surpass the Wii eventually, which went on to sell 101 million units. And I think it can also surpass the PS4 eventually as well. And that's where the Switch gets even more impressive, and that's with its software. The Switch now has 6 exclusive games that have sold more than 20 million units. 2 of those which have sold more than 30 million. That is absolutely crazy, and I'm not sure if I've ever seen something like that before. You don't usually see exclusives sell more than 20 million, but somehow the Switch has 6. The 6 being Mario Kart 8, Animal Crossing, Smash Bros., Breath of the Wild, Pokemon Sword and Shield, and Mario Odyssey. That's quite a good list. Obviously, Animal Crossing had a huge year and sold 31 million units. I certainly wasn't expecting that, but Pokemon Sword and Shield is the one breaking 20 million units that I find to be rather amusing. That means that Sword and Shield is the first Pokemon game that has passed that 20 million milestone since the release of Gold and Silver. I guess that boycott didn't exactly work out as the internet had planned. Pokemon is still huge after all these years, which is good news for 2021. Of course, new Pokemon Snap is releasing in just a few short months, and they're possibly going to reveal a Diamond and Pearl remake later this year, and possibly this month. Beyond just their big hitters though, they have plenty of other very successful releases. Super Mario Party has sold more than 13 million, Splatoon 2 is at 11.9 million, Luigi's Mansion is closing in on 10 million, Ring Fit is up to 8 million, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe has become the best-selling Pikmin game ever at 1.94 million. You also have Xenoblade and Paper Mario Origami King that released just last year. Xenoblade went on to sell 1.48 million, and Origami King sits right above 3 million. Yeah, the Switch is very impressive to say the least, and I think it's well deserved. Now what Nintendo needs to do is keep fans engrossed in the Switch over the next how many ever years they decide to support it. That could be done through a great library of games and Switch revisions. And as far as Switch revisions are concerned, Nintendo did respond to Switch Pro rumors when an investor asked about it. They were asked if the Switch will have a new model this year, and Nintendo responded with a very vague and non-committal answer. They simply stated that they are not planning to make an announcement anytime soon, as they have a Mario version in February and a Monster Hunter version in March. Here's the thing though, I would not take this comment as some kind of confirmation. The wording here was that they are not going to announce anything anytime soon, but never was it said that it wouldn't happen this year or that it's not happening at all. We do know from a data mine here recently that there was suggestions that Nintendo is working on a quote-unquote Switch Pro, and based off Nintendo's history, there is a good chance that Nintendo will eventually do some kind of revision. Now, I don't know if they'll release a revision this year or not, but Nintendo is absolutely not going to confirm it here. They're not going to want to jeopardize the current Switch models as people are still buying those up, so they're pretty much going to deny any kind of new Switch until the very moment it gets announced, with likely some big reveal at a Nintendo Direct or someplace like that. So again, I wouldn't look too far into this comment. Nonetheless, I think the Switch is becoming one of their best platforms ever made, and when all said and done, there might be a real debate that this is their best console ever made. While we're on the topic of Nintendo though, let's check out the poll of the day where I asked you if Nintendo expands on Switch Online Classic games, what platform should they focus on? And I'm happy to say that 47% of you voted for the Nintendo GameCube, with the Nintendo 64 coming in second at 26%. Now personally, I would have been happy with either one because these are two of my all-time favorite consoles ever made, but I chose the GameCube as well. We haven't really seen Nintendo do the GameCube before, and it'd be special to see it return for the Switch for more people to recognize some of its great games. They've also aged very well both in terms of visuals and control methods. The GameCube controller to this day is recognized as an all-time great controller. So they should play well on the Switch, and you can get some cool games like Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door, F-Zero GX, Luigi's Mansion 3, and the list just goes on and on. We also know that they have the GameCube emulator working on the Switch. That's how they were able to get Mario Sunshine running on the Switch. So I think that they could make it happen, but really I'd like to see Nintendo get all of these platforms working on the Switch if they could. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.